Milo and Alex Jones by going to Milo's YouTube page or the InfoWars YouTube page. I know I want to see the rest of it. It is not lost on me that last week when he appeared here on InfoWars, my friend Milo wore a vintage, genuine Bill Clinton rape whistle. A true piece of art. This is an extraordinary time to be alive because we have seen the real Donald Trump, and I like what I see. You see, first, the president very quickly put out an appropriate statement regarding the tragedy in Charlottesville. But that did not satisfy his critics. He denounced bigotry and hate, but you see, that was not sufficient. They demanded that he denounce specific groups, including white supremacists, of whom I do not know any. So I suspect this is a rather small but vocal group of haters. He did that, and then his critics wanted to know what took him so long. The truth is Donald Trump cannot please his critics. And then he finally, fed up, had that moment of truth where he said, wait a minute, there's plenty of blame to go around here. Those who expose, those who condone, those who perpetrate violence on the left, the most violent elements of the Black Lives Matter movement, for example, they are equally responsible for the climate in America. They are equally to be denounced and rejected, as violence is never a solution. Now, the more one examines the events of Charlottesville, anyone who's an experienced political operative who understands agitprop, things begin to seem quite fishy. I don't deny that there probably were a few neo-Nazis and Klansmen interspersed through the mob for authenticity. But all this has the absolute feel of an astroturf effort by the Soros ops. Jason Kessler, who appears to be the chief organizer, is identified now as a white supremacist, but not very long ago he was an ardent Obama supporter and working in the Occupy demonstrations. I still have my investigation underway, but others with key ties who are allegedly now Klansmen or skinheads or neo-Nazis have very strange recent activities of activism, I should say, on the political left. Then what are we to make of the Craigslist ad that was found in Charlottesville soliciting actors for an outside drama? This is beginning to be precisely what WikiLeaks showed us happened in the campaign, where George Soros and his ilk financed guerrilla operations and dirty tricks operations to foment violence at the Trump rallies so that Trump could be blamed for the violence. That's precisely what is going on in Charlottesville. And the president raises a good point. It's interesting because if you start by tearing down statues of Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis, George Washington was in fact a slaveholder. Do you tear his statue down? To which one black journalist I was reading to the other day said, yes, not going to happen. So let us now turn to the Trump White House, where the cabal of the generals, what I call the 7 days in May crew, is very much in control, where General H.R. McMaster, who looks amazingly to me like Don Rickles, by the way, is in an alliance with White House Chief John Kelly, reminds me very much of General Alexander Haig, and they are believed to be allied with General Mad Dog Mattis, the first non-civilian defense secretary in modern times. This triumvirate, which is most internationalist and globalist in its own coloration, was responsible for the ouster of Anthony Scaramucci, in that case with the active assistance of presidential strategist Steve Bannon. Now, unfortunately, Scaramucci's real sin was access to the president. It's incumbent now on Kelly, who's attempting to crack down to control all information in and out to the president, or to the point where Ivanka and Jared now must communicate through General Kelly, and neither one of them are allowed to meet with the president alone, nor can they just walk in to the president's office during, as was the case, during the chaos in which Reince Priebus was running the show. Therefore, you have now a dynamic in which the generals will seek to oust Steve Bannon. Now, I have been one who has defended Bannon against charges of anti-Semitism or bigotry or white supremacy. These are falsehoods. But I believe he's a spent volcano. He has not stepped up, first in the personnel process, not understanding that personnel is policy. He helped no other Trump loyalists get inside the White House walls. Now he finds himself facing the globalists alone. He also, unfortunately, was the prime mover in the appointment of Rex Tillerson as our Secretary of State. Steve Bannon knew that Tillerson's chief patron was Condoleezza Rice, and that Rice had recommended Tillerson face-to-face with the president in a meeting in New York. Yet, he pushed the appointment of Tillerson. Rice and the Romneyites now dominate the Trump State Department. The pressure to remove the Soros people from embassies across Eastern Europe is ignored in the Tillerson State Department. This is another example of what Steve Bannon has given us. I am deeply disappointed that he didn't tell the president that Joe Arpaio was being unfairly prosecuted, and that prosecution should be halted. Steve Bannon, who came up with a higher tax proposal, which Larry Kudlow and the other growth experts said would be a disaster for the Trump economic revolution. So it is not that I do not have affection for Mr. Bannon and his roguish style. I named him as one of the worst dressed people in the world in my 2015 Mr. Stone's best and worst dressed list. Steve wore it like a badge, showing his friends. The man does, in fact, dress like a hobo. But I think the point here is that the generals will now take Stephen Bannon out, regardless of what Roger Stone thinks one way or another, for the same reason that Scaramucci had to be removed. It's because of Steve's independent access to the president. The generals, the 7 days in May crowd, those who are closely aligned with individuals like Robert Mueller and James Comey and the permanent Washington two-party duopoly establishment still have, in essence, a slow-motion coup afoot. The idea here is to seize control of all information, render the president impotent, and set him up for a takedown by the Lord High Executioner of the establishment. That's what's really going on in Washington. I do want to take a moment to talk to you about the fact that we need your support to keep these kind of breaking news stories front and center here at InfoWars. Looking at the most recent specials is really extraordinary. You've got these BuzzFeed specials, which is built around the whole concept of 1776. You're looking at Brain Force, right now on sale for $17.76. This is the next generation of advanced neural activity supplement. This is getting hundreds of 5-star ratings. This is one of the better products that my friends tell me about. You can also have Survival Shield X2. This is based on 200 million year old salt solutions that are found 7,000 feet below the Earth's surface. This is an excellent product, and again, 1776. If you want to find out why you need vitamin B12 and what it can do for you, the InfoWars Life Secret 12 is now also 1776. This has thousands of favorable reviews, and I highly recommend it. Remember, folks, that we don't have a George Soros in the background writing big checks. We don't have huge grants from the Rockefeller Foundation and the Ford Foundation and the Mellon Foundation. We can only depend on you. And we need you to help us use the free enterprise system and our deep belief in commerce and trade to give us the support we need for the expansion that Alex Jones has planned. New shows, new commentators, and some of the best breaking news sources now in the nation's capital will be here at InfoWars, but that kind of build-out is not cheap. So please, go to the BuzzFeed special list at the InfoWars store and look at the 1776 specials. These are crucial to move this product to help us finance the expansion that Alex Jones knows will make InfoWars even better. I'm Roger Stone, and I'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Roger Stone, sitting in for Alex Jones. And like you, I'm intently watching the drama that is going forward in Washington. I have recently been approached by the lawyers for the House Intelligence Committee, and we are tentatively focused on testimony on September 26th. The terms of that are not yet set, but I am anxious to help clear the air on the Russian collusion delusion. The truth is that there was collusion by a foreign nation in our most recent presidential election. That would be the nation of Ukraine. Ukraine was illegally helping Hillary Clinton. Ukrainian intelligence was forging documents to smear Paul Manafort, even though prosecutors in Ukraine admit today that he has done nothing wrong or illegal in the country. But now we learn that these very same Ukrainians have sold missile technology to the North Koreans to make their weapons more accurate and more stable. So in other words, Hillary Clinton colluded with the Ukrainians to steal this election. Later in the week, I'll be talking to, sorry, we're active here at the Bureau. I apologize. I have Lee Stranahan will join me to lay out in chapter and verse what exactly is going on in terms of the lack of public focus and investigation into the illegal activities between the Ukrainians and the Clinton campaign. Unlike the Russian claims, here there is enormous proof of said collusion. On the other hand, collusion with foreign elections of foreign countries abroad is not unheard of. We interfered in the Russian election, spending money and agitprop in order to elect Boris Yeltsin. Yet, to this day, not a scintilla, not a shred of evidence of improper conduct by anyone in the Trump campaign involving the Russians has been proven. The meetings between Donald Trump Jr. and a growing cast of Russians seems to be a Keystone Cops drama, but there's no violation of the law there. Nothing of value exchanges hands. There are many questions about how the woman Russian lawyer even got into the country without a visa. Why would the FBI help her do so? And then there is the question of why she is pictured at a Hillary Clinton rally, and then later again at in the office of Senator John McCain. No, Russia is fallen flat as a pancake for the left. So now they are shifting to their second favorite attack vehicle, race. Now, that is unfortunate, but I think you're going to find that the country agrees with the president when it comes to condemning hateful demonstrators, protesters, or thugs of the left, and they must be denounced just as much as those rabble-rousers on the right. Please do me a favor, folks, and help us here stay ahead of the news curve. Help us with our expansion. Hit the Infowars.com store. You've got this 1776 sale on, which is extraordinary. We're talking about Brain Force Plus. We're talking about Survival Shield X2. You're talking about Bio True Selenium. You've got the new Super Blue mouthwash. My grandson loves this. 1776 Silver Bullet. Torque up that immune system. $9.95, 66% off. You won't see these prices again for a while, and some of these products really are first rate. I've used many of them. They're popular in the Stone household. I used to go to the local GNC until I figured out that the quality of the InfoWars store is really first rate. Alex Jones and his people don't put anything up for sale on the site which isn't carefully tested to be the best of its genre. So sure, you can find, male products, let us say, in the drugstore, but you will not have this quality. Help us save America. Help yourself. Go to the Infowars.com store. I'm Roger Stone, and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back. I'm Roger Stone. I had the honor of going to Atlanta last weekend for a MAGA Dixie rally sponsored by Citizens for Trump. And I can say without any question that, and polls reflect this, support for the president is at an all-time high, and the intensity of his support among his supporters not only has not lost any of its luster, as it has with Hillary Clinton. If anything, the president is stronger among Republican primary voters than at any time I have seen an incumbent Republican presidency. That said, I was really heartened by the extraordinary turnout for the MAGA rally and the fighting spirit of those who attended. And you can see my pretty fiery speech, an attack on the deep state, by going to stonecoldtruth.com. I think it's worth your while. While I was in Atlanta, I had the opportunity to endorse the candidacy of Senator Michael Williams, who I believe will be joining us shortly. Now, I am going to work for Republican candidates in the 2018 cycle. I'm going to go out and support those who support the president, not the country club establishment Republican types who have cut and run on the question of health care, who don't want a corporate income tax cut as large as the president. I think the only way the president can survive his battle with the Congress is to run against both parties, to make it clear to the people that he has put forward an aggressive and dynamic program for economic growth, but the two-party duopoly, the Republicans and Democrats working together, have thwarted that plan. You see, maybe it's Trump a triangulation, but he will do himself no good by endorsing the establishment re-election candidacy of candidates like Senator Luther Strange. Nor should he listen to the party leaders who will tell him that primaries are divisive. Donald Trump is not a career politician, and he doesn't have career politician views or rules. I would argue that he should target a selected group of incumbents who have been recalcitrant about supporting his program and take the fight right to the Republican establishment. If he takes a few scalps, if he wins a few preliminary victories, believe me, Senator Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan will wet their pants. And now I believe we have solved our technical problems, and we are pleased to have join us a gentleman who I think will be the next governor of Georgia, Senator Michael Williams. Welcome to InfoWars.
Well, thank you, Roger. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody.
I really want to tell people why I made the trek to Norcross, Georgia, to say a few words on your behalf. And no, I am not a paid consultant or strategist in your campaign. I'm a free agent, and I'm going to help those who helped the president. So not only are you, a comrade in arms from the Trump campaign, I know an early supporter long before many in the establishment realized his candidacy was real. But in many ways, you remind me of the president. You didn't come to the state Senate from politics. You came from business. You didn't come from a political background. You came from an entrepreneurial background. And I think many people don't know this. It was only when Obamacare threatened to destroy your business that you made the decision to make the sacrifice with small children, but get into politics and see if you can make a difference. And that's really why I went to Georgia and why I'm proud to endorse your candidacy.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Roger. I was the first elected official here in Georgia to come out and support the president in September of 2015. In fact, when he had his first rally in Norcross in October of that month, I was one of the only candidate, or the only elected official that spoke at his rally. Also, you touched on it. I'm not a career politician. I'm a business guy. I'm a CPA by trade. Used to own 18 barbershops called Sport Clips Haircuts. Had 160 employees. Was taking care of my employees. They were loving their jobs. And Obamacare came in. And I was just sick and tired of continually fighting the government. I spent so much of my time dealing with the red tape and fighting government that I ended up selling it and decided, you know what? I'm fed up with career politicians that say one thing, get elected, and instead of doing what they promised the voters, they do what the people that finance their campaigns want them to do. They follow the lobbyists, the special interests, big corporate, and doing their bidding. So I figured, I just can't complain about it anymore. I've got to go out there and do it myself. So I put about $300,000 into my first campaign. Went out there and to be honest with you, we kicked the ass of the incumbent. He got his butt beat by 64%, 64 to 34%.
You have an amazing and dynamic career so far. Something that Anthony Scaramucci, the former White House aide, said last week on his ABC interview is very true. Those in the political class don't want those from the entrepreneurial business class in the game. People who have had to make a profit, meet a payroll, pay their taxes. It's a zero-sum game for these career politicians. It's all about getting reelected, being non-controversial, keeping your head down, and as you know, with gerrymandering, appealing to the most partisan nature of their constituencies. You have an experience as a manager, and the race here is about governor. Governors need to run things, and I get the sense that you would run a tight ship. Now, they say you're a dark horse. They say you're the long shot, but I can tell you, it is not the candidate with the most money who wins. It is not the candidate with the most establishment endorsements. How do you think your campaign is going?
I think our campaign is going fantastic, and you're absolutely right. They consider us a dark horse, that we're kind of the long shot. But they said that about Donald Trump, too. They said that he would never win. He could never beat Jeb Bush and some of the other establishment candidates. When he became the Republican nominee, they said he could never beat Hillary Clinton. Well, we saw what happened. Donald Trump won. The people in this country, in this state as well, are sick and tired of the career politicians that you said earlier. They rely on the money train that is taxes. They go into our pockets every single quarter, every single month, and take our money from us by force. I was sitting in a budget meeting, the very first budget meeting I was as a state senator, and they had this chart up on the wall that was a graph of what they call revenue. Again, what it is it's taxation. And they're all patting themselves on the back because they had collected more revenue. I was sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, these guys don't know what they're talking about. This is not revenue. This is taking our money by force. There is no product they're selling. They're taking it from us. And then what they do with it, it's astounding. Again, like I said, I'm a CPA. I actually enjoy reading audit reports and financial statements. I've been diving into the books here in the state of Georgia, and we waste billions of dollars every single year. It's mind-numbing the amount of money that we waste. And again, the career politicians, they don't care. As long as they get the support of the lobbyists, the special interests, they'll dole out our money all day long. We see that with tax credits and all kind of other programs that we have here in the state of Georgia, again, that benefit a select few people, not the people of Georgia.
You know, it's funny you mention it because your chief opponent, Casey Cagle, reminds me very much of Jeb Bush. You know, lots of money, but no votes. Here's a guy who's been in public office for 24 years straight, been on the public payroll since he was 28 years old, never
Correct.
created a job, never made a payroll, but more importantly, not much of a legislative record either. A classic go-along to get-along politician who secretly opposes pay raises for cops and firemen, for law enforcement, then publicly tries to pretend he was for it. It's the typical, you know, politician's two-step. I've seen this one before.
No, exactly, Roger. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. He's been in office for a quarter of a century. Not only that, Republicans have controlled the state of Georgia for over a decade with the governor's office, the House, and the Senate. And we still have the highest state income tax in the Southeast. I think South Carolina has a little bit higher than us. Our budget has grown from $15 billion to $25 billion in the past 7 years. And again, to your point earlier, I had a bill this past legislative session where we were trying to give our law enforcement officers a pay raise. We have 3,200 law enforcement officers in the state of Georgia that are on food stamps. That is an embarrassment. He killed that in the Senate. Now, there's plenty of money to give to build stadiums and parking lots and all that kind of good stuff for the for big corporate out there. But where was the money for the law enforcement officers when they need it? Again, having anybody supporting us with their lives on the line every single day, and they have to be on food stamps. Again, it's an embarrassment, and we need to do something about it. We need to, again, support the people of Georgia, not the career politicians and the establishment.
Now, Senator, here's a political question for you. Donald Trump's victory in the state of Georgia was by about 4 points. Certainly significant and solid, but I expected perhaps that it might have been a little bigger. If the election were held again tomorrow in Georgia, what would be the result?
I believe that he would win by a drastic margin right now because the people here in Georgia, they love what our president is doing. They are seeing a man who is committed to bringing our country back, to making America great again, and he is fighting tooth and nail against the media on both sides, both the right and the left. I mean, to have a Senate right now that will not pass the repeal of Obama here after campaigned on doing that. Again, it continues to add fuel to that fire that we are feeling, where we're just tired of these politicians that say one thing and do something else. So I don't know what the number would be, but I know he would win by a much larger margin, primarily because, again, I'm talking to people out there that say, you know, they are in support of their president. And also, he won 155 of 159 counties here in Georgia primary. So he has a strong base here in Georgia.
Well, we're going to be following your race very, very closely. It was my colleague Owen Schroyer here at InfoWars who first picked up on the Omar Navarro for Congress campaign against Maxine Waters. We're also going to be following Carla Spalding, the Republican candidate against Deborah Wasserman Schultz in Fort Lauderdale. We're going to be watching your campaign for Georgia as well. I know this is an uphill, grassroots, hand-to-hand combat endeavor, but I have a feeling that you are on the right course, and we will welcome you back at InfoWars to give us kind of an update down the road.
Well, thank you. And if I may, Roger, could I just direct everybody to our website they can go to learn more about our campaign campaign. It's williamsgeorgia.com. And like you said, we're relying on grassroots. I've already put a lot of money myself in the campaign, but anybody who wants to support the president here in Georgia, support his movement, I appreciate any donations y'all can throw our way. Again, it's williamsgeorgia.com, and thanks for having me on.
Great. There he is, folks. Fearless conservative Michael Williams, the new breed of Republican. We are back to tell you that this very day, the United States Cannabis Coalition, a bipartisan nonprofit, which is an ad hoc project of the U.S. Freedom Coalition, was launched. My co-partner in this endeavor is the trial lawyer from Orlando, John Morgan, who is widely and correctly credited with single-handedly passing the constitutional amendment in Florida that allows for the sale of medicinal marijuana. We simply call on the president, who courageously said that he would support the access of millions of Americans, including our veterans, to medicinal marijuana in the 29 states where it is legal. We simply call on the president to keep that pledge. We're deeply disturbed by grumblings that Attorney General Jeff Sessions and the White House Chief of Staff General Kelly are plotting a criminal crackdown in those states where there is a dichotomy between federal and state law. And of course, the feds argue that marijuana is illegal. The Holder memo, in essence a directive from the Attorney General under Barack Obama, that the feds would stand down where the states have legalized, is sound public policy and has worked well. Millions of Americans have been assisted, and thousands of jobs have been created, while millions more in revenue have been generated. More importantly, opioid deaths, opioid-related crimes, and all minor crimes are down. This is a bipartisan effort, folks, Republicans and Democrats, liberals and conservatives, progressives and libertarians, working together to persuade the president to keep his pledge regarding states' rights and the states' rights to self-determination on the question of marijuana. We also support a change from the Schedule I rating of marijuana so that doctors can prescribe it for their patients who would benefit. That will be in the news, and you can go to uscannabiscoalition.org for more information. This is a great time, folks, to tell you one more time that we here really are challenged by the tech left, who would frankly use manipulation of the algorithms and all these fake news computer games to limit our reach to you. That is why we are in a fight over free press and free expression, and why I need you to go to the InfoWars store now and take advantage of these 1776 specials. Yes, you'll be helping us, but you will also be helping yourself. More importantly, you'll be helping the fight for freedom, the fight against the upcoming coup against our president who is duly elected. No one else will keep you apprised of what's going on in the coup like we here at InfoWars. Working with my colleagues, we have the best sources into the inside track around the president. So help us with your patronage by going to the InfoWars store now. Again, the 1776 specials. You will not see prices like this again soon. I thank you, and we will be back momentarily. I'm Roger Stone, sitting in for Alex Jones. Thank you very much. I'm Roger Stone. A little ZZ Top there. That's a lot of music for just three guys from Texas. Speaking of Texas, I'm headed to Austin to guest host for Alex Jones on Thursday and Friday of this week. And we're going to be laying out in greater detail the extraordinary evidence that proves Ukrainian collusion with Hillary Clinton's campaign, and, shockingly, the Ukrainian role in now supplying deadly missile technology to North Korea. We also will be talking about the Deborah Wasserman Schultz IT scandal, which grows worse by the day. You see, it is not just that Deborah Wasserman Schultz badgered the Capitol Hill police chief to get the laptops seized in the investigation into the shady Pakistani Awan brothers. It's also that Wasserman Schultz, after she was formally notified of the investigation, changed the status of one of the brothers in the system from consultant to employee to guarantee his continued access to the U.S. House of Representatives computer system. This is, of course, completely, in the view of many attorneys, makes her an accessory. Deborah Wasserman Schultz said last week that perhaps the Awan brothers, who stole data and money, are only being persecuted because of their Muslim faith. This is a race to watch because Deborah Wasserman Schultz will be opposed in the Democratic primary by a Bernie Sanders supporter, Tim Canova, and is likely to be opposed on the Republican side by an exceptional candidate, Carla Spalding, who is a single mother of three, the holders of a master's degree, a former registered nurse who was a whistleblower who uncovered corruption at the Veterans Administration. A Navy veteran, Carla Spalding will be the toughest candidate that Deborah Wasserman Schultz has ever faced. So we have an extraordinarily good amount of tough political analysis and reporting in the pipeline for the end of the week. And of course, I will be working with Gary Heaven and David Knight and others to bring you immediate reports and analysis on the situation around the president. We are in perilous times. There is, as Anthony Scaramucci told us on ABC, a cadre around the president who seek to take him out. We will keep you abreast of the entire coup. Stay tuned here at InfoWars. I'm Roger Stone. Victory or death. We are, I think it would be remiss not to talk for just a moment about that ABC interview. It is key that Scaramucci said three key things. One, he confirmed that there are those deep in the bowels of the White House whose job it is to, his words, eject the president. He criticized Steve Bannon, which I have spoken of earlier, but he expressed some support for H.R. McMaster. Let me be clear. My criticism of Steve Bannon does not mean that I am a fan of the globalist crowd around McMaster. So, Roger Stone, again, joining you at InfoWars. Many thanks for joining us.